This is our special coverage of the vetting of ministerial nominees. The Appointments Committee will sit this morning to vet another batch of President John Dramani Mahama's nominations for ministerial appointments. We've seen a very first session which saw 3 ministerial appointees go through the vetting session. There was that of Cassiel Atofos and Doctor going to the Finance Ministry. We saw John Jinapo heading to the Energy Ministry, and Dr. Dominic Ayene, who's heading to the Attorney General's Department and the Ministry of Justice. This morning, we'll be going through it again with you, where we are expecting to see Kwame Governs Agbodza, who's heading to the Roads and Highways Ministry, Haruna Iddrisu for the Education Ministry, and hopefully some more appointees or appointments coming before the Appointments Committee. In the studio with me, 2 gentlemen, Bernard Avle, General Manager, ChannelOne TV, City FM, and Sami Wiafe from our newsroom here with us. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning. Good morning.
I like to be referred to as the host of
the
City Breakfast Show. Point of view. I'm not here as General Manager. I'm here as a journalist. It's very important.
Anyways, so the Appointments Committee is sitting this morning. We saw the previous session and how it went. We were here. We had a few things to chew on from that. This morning, the committee is sitting again based on the nominations made by the president. First off, let me take your expectations based on your observations from the previous one.
All right. Thank you, Sam Nanatufo. So yes, I think that the first thing we are looking out for is the way the committee will manage itself. I think you and I were here when we watched the first one.
Yeah.
We didn't think there was a real plan, and by that I mean the minority and majority were now forming.
Yes.
So they were storming a lot. So you see, chairman was trying to assert his authority, minority leader trying to show he's strong as well, leadership on the NDC side also pushing. Today, the 3 who are going to be vetted are all leaders. So we're going to see a different style, hopefully. They've also had a week to reflect. We've seen press conference by the minority, not happy with the chair.
Yes.
And the chair has also granted an interview explaining himself. So I expect that both sides would have thought about the first day and come up with a different strategy. But I also hope there's a better consultation, because you see, the thing is, we are vetting people. We want to get the best out of them. We want to give the citizenry the chance to engage. So I hope we get a smoother process. Smoother doesn't mean easier for the nominee, but it's like an interview. If the interview is managed better, we get more out of the person. If the interview is chaotic, it doesn't give anybody any benefit. So I hope we're going to get a more structured conversation, thorough questioning, free flow of information, and a good policy insights to result from today.
Right. Sami?
Well, I also expect same, Nana. The beginning of every exercise has its own challenges. And as we saw last week, we saw these challenges, or is it last week, like 2 weeks ago? I think the last time they sat, we saw some challenges with the questioning and the allegations of, protecting these nominees here and there. But I believe that lessons have been learned, and is our hope, expectation, and prayer that today's one will be a smooth one. We're having 3 key ministries to go through vetting today. I expect hard-hitting questions from members of the appointment committee. The last time, my accusation was that, some relevant questions were not asked, in my view. And I feel that this time around, they should be asked, important questions, the questions that hit, the pulse of the Ghanaians, and the questions Ghanaians want, these leaders to address when they are sworn as president. Today, too, I'm also expecting... As ministers, sorry.
There's only one president in the country.
Today, too, I'm expecting the committee members to also be given room to ask enough questions and possibly follow-up questions. I expect the chairman to also be a bit more relaxed. I expect our market minority leader to reduce the interjections here and there. And I expect a smooth process today as we've had this 3 very important, ministers or designate to these ministries.
Right. So today we are expecting Eric Opoku to appear. He will be heading to the Agric Ministry. Governs Agbodza, Roads and Highways, and then we have Haruna Iddrisu for Education. Now, following the previous sitting, the minority held a press conference where they pointed some accusing figures at the chairman. Subsequently, there was an interview granted by the former chairman of the committee, Joe Wise, who had issue with the advertised time for the vetting. and he says that there was not enough time to even gain public participation, if you like it. This morning, I think I saw in the graphic an advertisement by the Appointments Committee courting public feedback regarding the various nominees. I'm building up to the fact that although it was originally advertised last week that the vetting was going to be on Thursday, it was brought back to Monday.
So it means that issue has not been resolved.
Has not been resolved.
Yeah. So I think they're trying to move this quickly. Don't forget, President said we were going to do this in 14 days. So that already put pressure on the process.
Exactly.
Parliament seems to have had a meeting on both sides to agree to start on Monday. Because if what Joe Osewusu says was anything to go by, would have said a few more days. But these new nominees were nominated last week, and they're going to be vetted this morning. Indeed, as I speak to you, Mr. Agbodza is seated. So maybe those issues will be raised here. Right. And I'm sure the minority leader will say, look, we have agreed to come early because we are trying to collaborate. So don't interpret our rigorous questioning to me want to oppose the process. Exactly. I don't know what Sami thinks about that.
It's the same thinking in that particular direction. We expect a smooth process, but in these activities, you expect the public to bring in their issues or some petitions they have against the nominee. We've seen those ones in time past where even members of the committee question nominees based on these petitions they have received and which they deem very necessary. We've not seen that in the first instance. I don't know if this time around we are going to see it. And also dealing with the CVs of the nominees. In the previous one, we didn't see any of the committee members, moving into the CVs of the various nominees who were present. I'm expecting today that we'll have a dedicated member who will go through the CV of all the nominees and punch holes if there's a need to, and ask a few questions in that area.
Before we get there, I mean, as Kwame governs Agbodza to take the first, the hot seat for today. Key priority areas. He's going to roads ministry. Yes. What should we be expecting to hear from him as someone who is going to head that ministry?
So generally in vetting, there are two things. They look at the suitability of the person and then what he would do. I think his suitability is without question because of his background. He's an architect. This is a third termer in parliament and he's part of leadership. So I don't expect him to have any problems on his competence. So you're right. The main issues will be what is he coming to deal with? And I think there are 5 priority areas for him. Complete ongoing and revamp stalled road projects, because lots of road projects were stalled, some have started, some were met by elections. He will definitely have to resolve issues around the road toll and road fund, the capping of the road fund and that kind of thing. He needs to continue the previous government did something good with local contractors. They gave a lot of contracts to locals. He needs to speak about how to manage that process because a lot of time the foreign funding comes with foreign contractors. How do you balance that? And then he needs to think about new financing models like PPPs because there isn't just enough money to do all the roads. It's a big issue. And then accountability of the service provision. People just come and start building a road. They don't talk to local communities, low quality of roads and that type of thing. And then possibly, how do you increase the road network? Will you continue things like drip? So there's a lot that Mr. Agbodza will have on his plate, and I expect questions to fly from everywhere because don't forget, everybody on the committee has a road that needs to be fixed. So they also try and get an assurance from him.
Clearly.
Now, this nominee and the finance nominee usually people try to court their favor too. Because the road minister and the finance minister are not on your side, you will suffer. So even though you are asking hard-hitting questions, even some of your people, some of the people in the NPP side will try and, because Charlie, they need help.
They need to appear nice.
Otherwise, they will suffer. So that's my point for him.
Sami, for Agbodza, I mean, he has been on the same committee today.
I'm excited. I'm very excited by this nomination, and I thank President Mahama for nominating Mr. Agbodza for this particular position. Reason is that he was very vocal during the previous administration. Anytime issues of roads come up, he's the go-to person from the opposition side, and will always criticize the government in areas they find he finds problem with. Now he's been put at a place where he's the one going to drive the government agenda when it comes to road construction. The same vibrancy and how vocal he was previously, I expect him to use those same activities to enter the ministry.
Would that be fair?
It will be, because we are going to judge by the standard. In previous time, you were very vocal. You were able to pinpoint some of the loopholes within the government when it comes to road construction. Now you are the main guy. You are in there. Look at these loopholes that you are looking at. See how you are going to block them. Secondly, he was very vocal when it comes to, the inflation of contracts. We hope we don't see any under his administration as minister. We hope that every contract will go through tendering and money spent on it is exactly as it was budgeted for. Thirdly, I expect him to answer questions on how him and the government are going to complete some store project, especially the Accra in Sawam Road. I was in Sawam over the weekend. The road is terrible. The Dental Dodowa Road and other road projects across the country.
Yeah.
How is government going to secure funding to complete this project? Because a lot of Ghanaians have complained bitterly about these road projects. A friend of mine lives in, Pram Pram. He always complains about the Nakpo stretch, that traffic. And he tells me that he sits in that traffic for like 3 hours, going home and coming to work. And so I expect, Mr. Agbodza to tell us how government is going to work to reduce the traffic on that stretch, or if there's a need to complete the already started project on that particular stretch, how the funding will come. Because already the finance minister told us in a vetting that no more borrowing. Now their funds are going to be internally generated. That's the matter for the finance minister to deal with. But then how is he, as the minister, going to help the finance minister to generate the necessary internal funds to complete all these stored projects across the country? I was listening to Bernard and Breakfast Show, I think some few days ago, and anytime issues of roads come up, you get thousands of calls, text messages, everybody complaining about roads. The previous administration said they did over 12,000 kilometers of road. Now he's going into the ministry. He's one person who criticized that particular, assertion by the previous government. Now he's going to that particular ministry. He's going to look at the books and see if what Amakwata said, that the government has completed over 12,000 kilometers of road, is the same as, they left it, or is different from the hymn book that they were singing. So a lot is expected of him. Expectations are high. He was very vocal in opposition, spoke about Rose project, and he will be judged by the standard of how he spoke when he was in opposition.
Very well. Well, the committee is, I'm sure they're taking their prayers now. And
because
so
it's a season of parliament.
Exactly.
So it's like and the deputy speaker is the chair, so it's almost like a sitting. So after the prayers, there will be protocols. Yeah. But we see a lot of people. You see that the family is packed.
No, but when I start to ask myself, are these people very necessary bringing them?
Politics is about
chiefs in your local area,
it's about representation.
But they can watch on TV, Bernard.
Sammy, I used to think like that, and I still think, for me, people, look, it's about people. He's from a town in Adaklu area. He's probably the first person from his hometown to be nominated for such a high position.
Yeah. Okay.
They are proud of him. They have to come. Maybe his church members are there. Yeah. As a politician, you want to show that you have people behind you as well. Yeah. So for me, that's where we are in our development stage. There's nothing wrong with it. They've taken time off their business to come and show support. Yeah. Imagine if you are being vetted for ministerial position, you are there alone.
The tension.
In Ghana, they'll say, only Nipan. For me, we shouldn't try and make things look like, fine, they can go and work. Yeah. But this is important. Yeah. So they'll come and support. They are not supposed to shout, but at least they will be there. But is it
beneficiary support?
Well, the only thing is that he's now going to minister for all of us. So it's not about whether your chief is there. But for me, it also tells you the journey. All these nominees are people who support them. Their communities are proud of them and all of that. So let them be there. Once they don't interrupt the process, what's wrong with that?
But coming to throw your support behind a nominee, it means you are expecting some favors if eventually the person is approved.
But not necessarily be the case. Like Bernard said.
Majority the case. So the chief, I don't know if the chief of Adaklu is there, but then if the chief of Adaklu is present, in his full regalia, comes to sit at your vetting, and the chief requests for a road to be constructed in this locality, are you going to stop him?
Well, what
are you going to say that no, it won't be constructed? Or are you going to say that it's not part of the budget?
We've had traditional leaders support all nominees.
Yes.
So unless you're asking a general
question. I'm just making a general.
That, then everywhere should have been developed by now.
I'm making a generic statement.
I think we shouldn't overstretch it. People come to show support. So I think the chairman is speaking.
Right.
So